So you've been seeing everyone in your personal life and on social media cutting off their hair or growing out their roots to go natural, and you think you just might be interested, or you're tired of your relaxed ends seeming to get you nowhere. Either way, you've decided that you just might be interested in doing this whole natural thing. You're super excited. You've been looking at YouTube videos online, talking to all your friends. But before you decide to commit to a decision that can be mentally, emotionally, and physically challenging, you still have a few questions about the whole process. Like, for one, where do I start? What do I do? And most importantly, how do I get from this to this? Well, you're in luck because you're already off to a great start by watching this video. Here, I'm going to explain to you all about transitioning, one of the two ways you can get your natural follicles grown, and one of the more popular ways to go natural for those people that are more attached to their hair and don't want to worry about immediately cutting it off. So what exactly does transitioning mean? Glad you asked. Transitioning refers to the process of growing out your unaltered new growth, meanwhile maintaining the length from your chemically processed ends. This tends to be a much more attractive option to many people looking to go natural, or for people who are already natural who might have some heat damage looking to start over, because it allows you to keep the length that you're used to and slowly become a member of the natural hair community at the same time. And while this decision isn't as commitment heavy up front as the big chop is, there is still a lot of commitment involved, and you get the extra little perk of being able to have your cake and eat it too. So your next question probably is, how long can I transition? Since this method does allow for more leniency, this question gets asked a lot. I even asked it when I was first starting, but the answer is as long as you want. Although you may start feeling pull from both sides to either go ahead and cut it off and be natural, or to go ahead and take your time, there is no set time limit for how long you can transition. You can take as little or as much time as you like. It's up to you. Now, should you choose to accept this challenge, if you decide to transition for a year or more, we refer to this as long-term transitioning. If you trim your ends regularly under this form, you can end up becoming fully natural without having to big chop at all. Anything less than a year is typically deemed short-term transitioning and will usually require a big chop at the end of your time period. So now that we've got the basic background out of the way, now it's onto the 5 how-tos for transitioning. Number 1, stop chemically processing your hair. Yes, stop putting whatever you're putting into it in it. Relaxers, keratin treatments, hair dyes, jerry curls, whatever your poison is, stop it. By submitting your new growth to these products, you're altering its shape, therefore pretty much defeating what you're trying to do. Hair dyes are the only one of these that do not alter your hair's curl pattern per se, but they are extremely drying and can cause significant damage. And since transitioning, it can already be difficult to keep your hair moisturized, I suggest cutting it out, at least for right now. Now on to number 2, stop using heat. I usually try and be a little flexible when it comes to your usage of the flaming sticks of death, which is flat irons, curling irons, hot combs, etc., because when used moderately, no real harm is done. However, I strongly advocate no heat at all while you're transitioning to natural hair. Since you're working with 2 different textures, it would require too much heat to blend them together. Now, everyone's hair is different, so what might be damaging to one person's hair texture may not be damaging to another. But even with that in mind, once you start getting to upwards of about 400 plus degrees, you're entering into some pretty dangerous territory. So it's best to cut out all heat that's coming from your flat irons, curling irons, and hot combs. But on the other hand, there are good forms of heat, and that would include blow dryers if they're set to a cool, low temperature and not too close to your hair, hooded dryers, and diffusers. Now on to how-to item number 3, low manipulation or protective styles. This step is pretty flexible as there are several hairstyles you can adopt throughout your transition regardless of how long you decide to do it. Low manipulation styles are just styles that you perform that require little to no manipulation of your hair, and this can include braid outs, twist outs, bantu knot outs, bantu knots, and twists and braids with your own hair, none extra added to it, just to name a few. Protective styles, on the other hand, are styles that you can do that protect your ends, so it protects the oldest part of your hair so you can retain that length. And this can include everything from sew-ins, wigs, Senegalese twists, Marley twists, and faux locks, just a couple of the great examples that you can try. But remember to give your hair breaks from protective styles though. Too much of it can kill your curls. So for how to transition, item number 4, deep conditioning and protein treatments. When you're transitioning, your hair is in a very vulnerable state because of the 2 different textures you're dealing with. You'll experience a lot of shedding and breakage. And while this may seem strange to hear, it might seem kind of troubling, I promise that it's very normal. But this is an issue that can be helped. So if you feel like you're experiencing too much shedding or you're getting a little troubled by what you're seeing, you just need to give your hair a little extra love. To keep your breakage down to a minimum, deep condition at least once or twice a month. Once a week would be ideal if possible, but definitely once or twice a month, and use protein treatments at least monthly. You don't want to use protein treatments too frequently because you could experience your hair becoming really brittle and fragile, but with your hair in a transitioning state, you can probably use them even more than once a month if you would like. Now for the fifth and final step in this how-to process, decide how long you want to transition for. This is step 5 because it's okay to not know how long you planned for your transition to natural hair to take, and chances are you'll change your mind anyway. When I started out, I planned on doing at least a year, but after tiring of dealing with 2 textures, I big chopped after 9 months. And that's okay. You don't have to stick with whatever date you set. If you feel like you're ready ahead of time, that's fine. And if you want to wait a little longer, that's okay too. However, if you do plan to transition for a longer period of time, after about a month or 2, or maybe even after a few weeks, you should have some idea of how long you want to do this process. You need to be working towards a goal to stay motivated and to ensure you're taking daily conscious steps to work towards either the big chop you're going to do after a short-term transition or reaching the final moments of your long-term transitioning period. So now that you know the basic how-to for this process, you're probably wondering what you can expect should you choose to accept this challenge. Well, number 1 is breakage, and lots of it. As I said before, you're dealing with 2 different textures, and doing that skillfully can be tricky. What works for your relaxed ends by keeping them nice and moisturized without being too heavy may not work for your new growth, and what works for your new growth by giving it nicely well moisturized with a nice curl may not work for your relaxed ends. And while this may seem like a small discrepancy, this one difference can result in a lot of breakage. This is one reason why many naturals opt for shorter transitioning phases. Dealing with all natural hair is just easier. However, if you're having what appears to be excessive amounts of breakage with wads of hair everywhere, or your hair has started to come out very easily, incorporate more deep conditioning treatments and use low manipulation styles. You want to steer clear of protective styles as these can be more stressful on your strands, especially if they're already starting to come out. Now for things you should expect, item number 2, bad hair days and plenty of them. While there are plenty of styles you can try and use to blend your textures together, some of them might not come out the way you imagine just because of the hair textures that you haven't found the right combination of products, or any number of other things. So be prepared for those days where you don't feel like dealing with your hair, or the days where your roller set doesn't blend your textures exactly right. It comes with the territory. If your hair is long enough, invest in some headbands for those days when wearing buns is your saving grace, so you don't have to worry about smoothing back your edges with gel. And maybe learn to tie some headscarves to add some more variety. And you could always moderately incorporate some protective styles for another good strategy. And for the third and final thing to expect while you're transitioning, of course, is haters. But I mean, if you live long enough, you'll run into these people regardless, so what else is new? If you're not super confident in your decision, or you're just trying transitioning out, I know the opinions of other people can be pretty influential and hurtful because I've been through it myself, but don't let that stop you. Just remind yourself you're bomb, remember your goals, and once you get set in the natural game, they won't be able to say anything. But of course, they'll still hate. And remember, while you may be thinking, oh, this is easy for you to say, your hair is already long, I've been through this process too, so I know firsthand just how difficult and even emotional transitioning to natural hair can be. Even though if you choose to long-term transition, you won't be big chopping, or if you choose to short-term transition, you won't be big chopping for a while, it still takes a strong mentality to make this change, especially when many of us connect our hair to our self-esteem and self-image. So don't give up. Those things that are worth it in life never come easy, but knowing what you're getting into, how to perform it, and what to expect can make it easier. So just find your inspiration, whatever it might be, and keep your eyes on the curly-headed prize. And that is all about transitioning. So I hope this video was informative to those of you that are looking into doing this process, or it was entertaining if you've already been through this. But just some quick questions I want to know from you guys. Did you start your natural hair journey by transitioning, or are you currently working with 2 hair textures? Please comment your experiences, questions, and concerns about transitioning from relaxed to natural hair below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say, and I will answer as many questions as I can. And also let me know your thoughts on this hand-drawn animation if you would like to see more of it. And that's all for this video, so thank you guys for watching, and hit that like button if you liked it, hit it even if you didn't, leave a comment down in the comment box below, and make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.